Okay. We're rolling.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to Online Presenters Toastmasters Club. The purpose of this club is to improve learning skills for better webinars and online events. We do want to remind you that this meeting is being recorded. We use the stills and video excerpts for public relations and social media purposes. If you don't want to be in the videos, exceptions can be made on request. We remind everyone to either use earbuds or headsets. Mute yourself when not speaking. Mute yourself and turn your video off if you do anything distracting, such as getting up from your chair, or going someplace, or sneezing, or coughing. The controls are on the bottom left corner of the screen. You can also switch between gallery view and speaker view, and those controls are on the upper right corner of the screen. You may also chat with individual members or everyone in the meeting. To do so, kindly click on the chat button at the bottom center of the window to open the chat box. Please keep track of the time. Locate the thumbnail image of the timer. Consider asking for an audible cue. Use your own timing device or the Toastmasters timer application. If you would like to attend at least 2 meetings as a guest. This is an advanced club. We ask that you've completed at least 6 speeches before joining our club. To request an exception, make a 1 to 2 minute speech about why you want to join. Exceptions are subject to a vote of the board. It's now showtime.
Indeed, it is showtime. Thank you very much for coming to Online Presenters. Allow me to introduce to you our Toastmasters of the evening, Miss Elaine Nieberding.
Good evening, fellow online presenters, replay viewers, and honored guests. I'm Elaine Nieberding from Bel Air, Maryland, and our theme for today is time to drill. Now, sometimes a time to drill is when there's an emergency happening, like last month when I needed a root canal. Wasn't too much fun, but that drilling needed to happen. And sometimes we need to do drills to prepare for emergencies. Now, just last week, I was in Atlantic City in the 43rd floor of a casino hotel when there was an announcement that came over the loudspeaker: evacuate the building! Evacuate the building! And so, not knowing whether it was a drill or not, we headed down 43 flights to the ground floor. Happily, it was not an emergency. But now here we are at Online Presenters. And it's not a drill. It's a place for great practice of our leadership and our speaking skills. But I am going to drill in one point to each of you, especially those participating in the online event. Look into that light, whether it's blue or green or red on your webcam. Look into it and bring your full presence there so who's ever watching really feels like you're looking right at them. And now, about the format of tonight's meeting. First, I'll be introducing each of the functional role members, and they'll describe what they're going to do. And then there are the 3, count them 3, portions to the program. Our 3 speakers of the evening, first. Second, our lively table topics section, where we get to do impromptu responses to our table topics master questions. And then our evaluations and reports for the evening. Make it a great evening. Give us your full attention. And we're going to proceed right now with getting an idea of the functions of the different roles this evening. Ronaldo Goldman, please tell us about the timer's role.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. My duty as a timer, I'll keep track of time during each segment of the meeting. So you'll see let me get my flags up, my green. You see a green, then you'll see a yellow, then you'll see a red, and then you have 30 seconds to wrap up. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
And I would like to remind each of our speakers this evening, do arrange your screens so that you can see the timer's view box so that you keep track of your time unless you're using your own timer. Now I'd like to hear from Jacinta Watkins LaMontagne, our counter. Tell us about this role, please.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and most welcome guests. My role as the eye counter is to assist you in becoming a better speaker. I will be counting those filler words that we use often, so, and you know. At the end of our meeting, I will be providing a report. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Jacinta. And now on to Christian Ramchurn, our grammarian for the evening.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. So as grammarian, my role is to pay attention to the use of grammar and then work to provide a constructive feedback on what I heard at the end of the session. I also share with you the word of the day and encourage you to use it. And for you this time. So the challenge is to use the word of the day at least 10 times. And the word is the following. It's puncturing, P-U-N-C-T-U-R-I-N-G. It can be used as an adjective or as a verb. To be more precise, it's the present participle of the verb puncture. So what does it mean? It means literally to make a hole in something. For example, blows had punctured a lung, like was the attempt of Roger earlier with me. Or it can be used as the following, to cause a sudden collapse of mood or feeling. For example, the earlier mood of optimism was punctured, but then revigorated by Roger. I'm going to put more details about the word of the day in the chat, and I encourage you again, the challenge is use it as at least 10 times. Over to you, Madam.
Thank you very much, Christian. And now we'll proceed with getting a report or a description by Jim Gould of the Chat and Monitors function. Over to you, Jim.
Thanks a lot. I'm going to be monitoring the chat out there because it's important for all of us to pay attention to what's going on there. And I can do that very easily, and I'm already reading through there. So I'll just be kind of keeping an eye on things and seeing what I can find there, and I'll be talking about it afterwards.
Thank you, Jim. And now I'm calling to speak Mr. Jim Barber, Toastmaster Jim Barber, who will be our watcher for the evening.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. As the watcher this evening, I'm going to be watching everybody. This is in the legal world generally described as being a stalk illegal in 22 states. However, it's sanctioned in Toastmasters. I will be watching everyone's video presence and reporting at the end of the meeting on how you did. And as far as Christian's challenge goes, I'm up to it. Here we go. Puncturing, 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 puncturing. Madam Toastmaster.
Way to go, Jim Barber. Getting this meeting off to a rolling start. And now, last but not least, we have Dagmara Sitek, the ever-important vote counter. You want to be sending votes to her via the chat at various points in the evening. Take it away, Dagmara.
Today, as a vote counter, I will be counting your votes, so please send them to me after every part of the meeting while you are prompted to do so, and at the end of the meeting I will give you also my report and announce the winner. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much for these descriptions of roles this evening. We have a fine complement of well-qualified role functionaries. And now I'd like to introduce the first speaker for the evening, Distinguished Toastmaster John Quick.
Excuse me, Madam Toastmaster.
Yes.
May I please have the timing for this speeches, please?
Ah, yes.
Sorry.
For speaker number 1, John Quick, the timing, green is 5, yellow is 6, and 7 is red. 7:30 is the cutoff. For speaker number 2, Mike Woodall, it is it's an icebreaker speech. So green is 4, yellow is 5, red is 6, cutoff is 6:30. And for Norman Dow, speaker number 3, green is 5, yellow is 6, red is 7, and cutoff is 7:30. Thank you for asking.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so back to Ronaldo. Oh, excuse me, back to John Quick. John Quick, speaker number 1, Distinguished Toastmaster, is completing the Understanding Your Communication Style project from level 2 of the Visionary Communication Path in Pathways. He will be using role-playing to demonstrate how to adapt to different styles of communication. So no surprise, this is called role-playing communication styles. And I am going to go pin his video. Let me do that so we have this properly set up. Let's see. Give me a moment here. John Quick. Spotlight video. Do I put this on Spotlight video, Roger?
A quick tutorial in Zoom. A spotlight video will be spotlighted on everybody's desktop so no one else can move that spotlighted video off. To pin a video only controls and affects your own desktop. I would suggest that each one of you would make that choice yourself so that you can choose between which view that you prefer. The spotlight can be used, but once it's used, it controls everyone's desktop.
With that in mind, we'd like to proceed. Please pin your video for John Quick so you can see his full presentation. Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Today we embark on a quest for effective communication. Grab your 20-sided die, I have mine, and let's begin. Our quest today is to see how effectively we can interact with 4 different styles of communicators. I leave my house early in the morning and walk down the road heading to the castle. Along the way, I encounter Lauren, who's standing in the middle of the road, blocking my way. Here she is. She grunts, "You owe me 5 gold pieces. I've come to collect. What say ye?" I say, "Hello, Lauren. How are you on this fine day?" Now, I'm afraid to say that did not go over very well. Lauren grips that rock in her hand so tightly that the skin on her fingers begins to split. And now she grunts irately again. "For wasting my time, you now owe me 10 gold pieces." Without saying a word, I reach into my pocket, pull out 10 gold pieces, hand them over to Lauren. As she's counting the money, I slowly back away, turn, and run away as fast as I can. Lauren is a direct communicator. Now, as I'm running along, I get outside the castle. And who do I meet? I notice little Zeus hunched over and sobbing in the corner. Zeus pouts, "I always wanted to be a Viking, but I'm just a slime." I ask, "What do you mean, just a slime?" Zeus pouts vigorously now. A slime like me can never be a Viking. What was I thinking? So I say, who says a slime can't be a Viking, Zeus? Why do you feel that way? Now Zeus explains. People fear Vikings. No one fears a cute slime. But I've got the response for Zeus on this one. I said, Zeus, people do fear slimes. Although you may look cute, no one wants to touch a slime, for they will be slimed. That makes you just as scary as any Viking would be. Besides, you've also got that fearsome hat already. Now a glimmer of hope can be seen in Zeus' eyes. I guess you're right. If I work at it, maybe I can be a Viking one day. So I say, yeah, Zeus, go out there and be. High five! Zeus, supportive communicator. Zeus weeps with joy for the hope of an easier tomorrow. I get past Zeus and I'm just inside the castle gates, where I'm pounced upon by an excited Gorwin, who immediately begins speaking. My lord, I've splendid news to share today. We're just reviewing the court schedules from last year. I discovered... I cut Gorwin short and explained that I'm on my way to an emergency meeting with the council. Gorwin looks perplexed for a moment, then continues. As I was saying, my lord, I made an important discovery while reviewing the court. I wait patiently for the next 15 minutes, making interested faces, until Gorwin finishes his story. Afterwards, I say, this is fascinating news, Gorwin. I'll be sure to bring your discovery to the council's attention forthright. Now, Gorwin smiles and hands me his book. He is the initiating communicator. Finally, the council meeting is about to begin, and Aurelor quietly walks up to me and whispers, I hope you came prepared for the meeting. Mind you, all living knowledge is contained in these scrolls, which I possess. I reply by saying, has made a fascinating discovery. Take a look at this chart. However, Aurelor looks unimpressed. Fancy works of art don't impress me. A chart is merely a distraction that conceals the true nature of the data. This time I take it one step further. I just hand her that entire book that Goran had. And said, here, take all of Goran's records. I'm certain you can find at least one new piece of knowledge to add to your scrolls. Aurelor nods. She goes and sits down at the table and spends the entire meeting focused intently on the book. For she is the analytical communicator. What a day it was. We survived 4 different communicators and 4 different communication styles. My quest may be complete, but I'd like each of you to take your 20-sided die and ask yourself, how well can you communicate with people of all these different styles? Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, John Quick. You have succeeded at puncturing our illusions about the interesting ways we could learn about communication styles. It can be fun and entertaining. Thank you so much. And now I'd like to proceed on with introducing speaker number 3, who is, excuse me, speaker number 2, Mike Woodall, DTM. Like all of us, our next speaker joined Toastmasters because he saw the potential for his own improvement. His need was deep and intense. He had battled depression for years following an unimaginable tragic personal loss. He is chronicling the experience in his book, The Final Blow, to be published this summer. Can I really find my voice too? The reverberant, echoing inquiry burst through his mind immediately following his first Toastmasters meeting. Mike leapt into leadership, traveling over 27,000 miles for his newfound hope. He led his area on an inspiring journey to become the #1 area for club and membership growth in North America and second in the world. Let's give a heartfelt welcome to one of our newest members as he gives us his icebreaker titled ToastmasterMike.com. This is Mike Woodall.
The prison warden walks into the chow hall. Gentlemen, I've got some good news and I've got some bad news. The good news is I'm going to let you guys change your underwear this weekend. The bad news is it's going to be with each other. My fellow Toastmasters, I joined Toastmasters in 2011. A friend of mine for over 10, 15 years, Willie Taylor, and I met at a bar here, Lamasco's Bar and Grill. I had some exciting news to share with him. You see, after 4 years of being in a really depressive state of my life, I scored a speaking gig in front of a few hundred people. The ACLU was there, ATSA was there, and a couple other civil rights organizations. So I met Willie for a beer, and I said, guess what? I've got this speaking gig I set up in St. Louis. He said, really? Have you ever spoken in public before? I said, no, but I think I can wing it. He says, Mike, you need Toastmasters. I didn't know in that moment that he'd been with Toastmasters for 27 years. I did know that he was a great speaker in front of large audiences in all the volunteer projects we have here in Evansville. I joined Toastmasters that very next day. The next week, I did my icebreaker. In the next couple of weeks, I got in my second and third speech. And off I was to St. Louis to stand in front of all of those people. And I thank God for those first 3 lessons in Toastmasters. It saved me from being a Taylor for introducing me to Toastmasters. Being here, I've enjoyed many things. But one of the funnest things I think I've ever done in Toastmasters is building clubs and traveling and speaking to many, many clubs and introducing others to Toastmasters. The other thing I really loved was training the area, training clubs for meetings, creating posters and placards in front of the door at the seminars where we would train. I loved being a Pathways guy. It was a fun experience. One of the things that I enjoyed while building these clubs was the camaraderie of all the people I got to meet and all the people I would see move from their icebreakers and get their advanced manuals and get their DTMs. I've watched people that I actually brought into the clubs become a district directors, the top 3. And watching this growth has been absolutely wonderful for me. One of the best gifts that I received was I built a club at Master Brand Cabinets. It's North America's largest cabinet manufacturer. And when I finished my job there and left them on their own as distinguished, they awarded me this cabinet door. And when they gave me this cabinet door, I absolutely had a tear in my eye as they gave me my evaluation in the cabinet door. At the end of my tenure as area director, they roasted me. And that was a fun experience. And this is something I hang on my wall. It's a shepherd's staff. And they awarded this to me at the roast. I've enjoyed so much at Toastmasters. I've received so much in Toastmasters. Toastmasters got me out of my garage while I was depressed. And Toastmasters can help anybody in the country to find their voice, just like it did me. One of the things that you're going to see me talk about is a phrase called stand in the vision. My goal in Toastmasters and in my life is to have people stand in a vision of the world they see worth having and show them how to stand there and get them to smell the scent of their future self, to feel the texture, to hear the sounds, to bathe in the success. And then while standing there in that future possibility, come back to this present and speak that future possibility into existence. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much, Mike Woodall, for that fine presentation, and welcome to Online Presenters. This is a fine first speech for you to introduce yourself to us. Thank you so much. I'd like to ask our timer, Ronaldo, to please enter into the chat the times for our first 2 speakers. And now I'm going to introduce speaker number 3 for the evening, Norman Dow, who is from Maryland, like myself. Communication Level 1, Master Evaluation and Feedback Speech number 1. The title is A Picture is in Words. Now, Norman Dow has been preoccupied this semester, this year, with a class at the University of Maryland. Although years ago he was a math major, he has taken the senior capstone seminar in history, slavery, freedom, and citizenship. And tonight's speech addresses one picture he encountered this semester. Take it away, Norman Dow.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. A picture's worth 1,000 words. For those of you who've heard me speak, you know I'm interested in history. As I decided to take a plunge and to learn more about history from real historians. And I took the senior seminar, the capstone course for history majors without an undergraduate history degree. I didn't realize that they had lots of books to read in history. Math majors don't read lots of books. But one of the things that was very interesting to me was in my second class, we ran into a picture. And I'm going to look up this picture with you this evening. This will actually be the subject of my speech. This is a picture that came about in the class Slavery, Freedom, and Citizenship. Now, you're looking at this, how can this relate to slavery, freedom, and citizenship? But could anyone guess what this really means? This is actually a picture that Thomas Jefferson wrote about. He wrote, "I surely never saw so precious a collection of paintings. Above all things, those Van der Werf affected me the most. His picture of Sarah delivering Agar to Abraham is delicious. I would have agreed to have been Abraham through the consequence would have been that I should have been dead at least 5,000 or 6,000 years." Thomas Jefferson visited an art gallery in Dusseldorf in 1788 and came back and wrote a letter to Maria Causeway, his married mistress, not married to him. And as he wrote this letter, he actually mused about how he really wished he was Abraham, but he couldn't be. He was just Thomas Jefferson, American ambassador to Paris. This picture came out in my second class, and it showed me a number of things that I didn't understand. It punctured my understanding of or what I thought I knew about history. First of all, it's about Sarah, Abraham, and Hagar. When the professor presented it, and I've suggested that he might look at this, he presented it to the class. He did not know who Sarah and Hagar were. He got them mixed up. As he mentioned that and got them mixed up, no one in the class corrected him. I don't know whether anyone knew the story. See, Abraham was about 85 years old. Sarah, 75. God had promised Abraham a child. He hadn't had it. Sarah decided to present to Abraham a live surrogate, a maiden, an Egyptian maiden, so that he could have a child. She was going to help God out because at 75, she's not going to have a baby. She gave Abraham her maiden, her Egyptian maiden. A bunch of things cropped out. First of all, we were in a class, we were in a history department. No one questioned the ethnicity of the people. Sarah, Abraham were from Mesopotamia. They were brown skinned. Hagar was an Egyptian. She was an African. They were not, as this picture would portray, maybe Greek or Italian, Southern European, but they were from the Afro-Asiatic region of what today we call the Middle East. When I talked about it, it was amazing that I found that we had tremendous scholars, including my Yale-trained professor, but their knowledge was very, very narrow. They knew a lot about a little, but had no breadth in their understanding. There was a biblical illiteracy. I was surprised that Thomas Jefferson, who I'd been taught, was not really a Christian. He was a deist. He believed that God made the world, wound it up, and walked away. He knew more about the Bible and his references and timeline and whatever than modern American scholars at this elite university. It was really eye-opening to me. I was so concerned about my lack of real history experience in this class that my bubble was punctured as I said, well, I know a lot more than most of these people, although I don't think I know that much at all. And at the end of the class, as I look back on this and many other things, there are a number of lessons that I actually learned. First of all, to question historical myths. Thomas Jefferson, yes, he did write the Declaration of Independence, but he was a dog. When he wrote this and was musing about Hagar, he had a 15-year-old slave at home. He was hoping to be like Abraham was, and later on, he had 6 children by her. Question the historical myths. Read what they actually did, not what the myths say about them. Broaden your education. Don't just learn to achieve a particular goal, but learn to understand, to learn, to be more of a mature, educated people or person, and then be inquisitive. Ask questions. Connect the dots that were not connected. Take risk. Learn, question, and broaden. Puncture your ignorance. Madam Toastmaster?
Elaine, please unmute yourself.
That would help. Thank you, Norman Dow, for your eloquent offering this evening and multiple use of puncture and puncturing. And I would like to ask our timer now to let us know whether each of our speakers have qualified to be voted on. Have they qualified, Ronaldo? Please unmute.
Yes, ma'am, Toastmaster, they're all qualified.
They've all qualified. So please, online presenters members, enter your vote in the private chat. Send your vote for the best speaker to Dagmara Vote Counter. And then, or now rather, we are proceeding to the fun part of the evening with our topics master, Tiger McCandy. Tiger, what grand questions will you have to keep us very, very alert and ready? Take it over, Tiger.
So, staying with the topic of the day, my first question is, you have just been appointed the drill sergeant for the club. And as we all know, a drill sergeant in the military is someone that prepares his men and women these days for military combat. And this question goes to Roger.
Tiger, would you please repeat the question again?
Yes, sir. So you have just been appointed the club's drill sergeant. How are you going to implement that position?
Tiger, would you please repeat your question again?
Yeah, can you hear me? Am I okay? Can you hear me, Roger?
Yes, I can, Mr. Tiger. I am the drill sergeant, and I will tell you exactly what to do. When I tell you to repeat yourself, you repeat yourself. And when I need you to shut, you shut. Now, this is something so natural to me because I am the drill sergeant. Whether I am in this club or any other club, ask my wife. She'll confirm that. As the drill sergeant, my goal is not to outshine each and every one of you, but my goal is to make sure that we are in line, that we are doing things in such a way that will be the most effective and efficient. In such in such a way that we are always prepared, in fact, over prepared, so that we can give the best we can, allow each and every one of us, whether we are playing the role of a speaker or playing the role of a role holder, that we use every opportunity to express those messages that is needed right then and there. So with that said, I will continue to be the drill sergeant whether you like it or not. Whether Rolando will turn green, yellow, or red, I will continue to do so. And I know my term as your VP of E will go down within a month and a half. But believe me, you will hear from Mr. Roger Fung, because I am your drill sergeant. Back to you, Mr. Tiger.
Thank you very much, Roger. I knew that you would puncture that question. You did so very nicely. Sybil, my question for you is, we all think about the dentist when the word drill comes up. So what I would like for you to do is share with us your most memorable dental experience.
Oh my goodness.
Jacinda loves this one.
Okay, my most memorable dental experience is going to be not one, but many dental experiences. And the reason I say that is when I was in high school, I was a senior or junior, either junior or senior, I had gotten braces. And when you get braces at that age, it's just torture. I mean, it would have been easier if when I was younger, I had braces, but when you're in high school and everybody else is kind of blossoming into being themselves and not quite a kid anymore, it's really hard. And I had glasses at the same time. So I had braces and glasses when I was in high school. And when I went to the senior prom, I had braces and glasses, and really, you know, it could have been done better. But I got used to, at that time, the braces were silver. I think nowadays they can be clear. But back then it was silver, and I always had to remember I had to chew gum to get all the teeth to move, and it just was not a good experience. And the puncturing wasn't all that bad. It's the part that was bad is just me having to wear it for that many years during my senior year.
Thank you very much, Sybil. Jacinta was cringing over there at that question. All right, Christopher. So the original theme of tonight's meeting was to drill or not to drill. So that is my question to you, sir. To drill or not to drill? That is the question.
I would definitely choose to drill. The way I see drills used is to hang things on the wall. And why hanging things on the wall is important to me is because it is a great way to display different things that either happen in your life or are important to you. But why using a drill is important, because you need to make sure that the things that are important in your life are hanging on something sturdy. Like when you drill into a wall, you have to make sure that you're drilling into a stud, or you have to put an anchor there. You don't want to hang something off the wall and possibly puncture a hole, and then when you put something on it, you create a bigger hole, in essence, puncturing it even more. So I feel that given the opportunity, you should try to drill as many holes as you can and try to puncture the walls a lot. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And way to get the word of the day in there several times. I don't know if you got it in there 10 times, but you got it in there a number. So, Lewis, how are you doing, sir?
Doing great, Mr. Topics Master. Thank you.
All right, excellent. So the term drill and kill I have heard many times in my life as an educator, as an athlete, and even in environmental discussions. So could you please give us your interpretation of the terminology drill and kill?
Whoa, Mr. Topics Master, interesting topic. I immediately thought of the dentist when you said drill and kill, but I also thought of fracking. I don't know if any of you are familiar with fracking, but it is a new way to drill or to puncture the earth using some heavy equipment that's obviously got some kind of large drill bit on the end of it. And it is a way to extract oil, I believe. I'm a little hazy when it comes to fracking in general, but I believe it's a new way to extract oil or probably anything that we want out of the ground. However, based on what I've been reading about fracking over the years since it's been introduced, is it does a lot of killing of the environment, killing of the climate. It seems to be what would be the word? Raising the risk of different climate events like earthquakes and tsunamis and all this kind of stuff. And wow, it immediately made me think of the fact that fracking is definitely not the way to go, probably hasn't really been explored or researched well enough to understand what it really can do and can't do and how harmful it is. With that said, a lot of drilling, a lot of killing. I'm not a really big fan of fracking. So at some point I just had to call it frickin' fracking because it just wasn't really cutting it in terms of helping us to really get what we need from the earth and the environment. It's actually doing more harm than good. So there's a quick way to drill and kill. Mr. Topics Master.
Very, very nice handling of that question. Joy, how are you tonight? Well, it's tonight here. It's tonight in Arizona.
I am fine, thank you.
Okay, so your rich uncle just died and he left behind a drilling company. There are two divisions to the company. One division is to drill for water. The other is to drill for oil. You have a choice of which one of those companies you would like to inherit. So would you like to inherit the company that drills for oil or the one that drills for water, and why?
Definitely I would choose the water drilling company because water is essential for all of us. We cannot live without it. But I would really hope we could live without oil. Find some substitutes. And coming from a small country with 6 nuclear power plants, I am a great fan of nuclear power. It's clean energy. And especially in a country like ours, where we have solid rocks, we have very safe storage for the nuclear waste. But drilling water, I would really, as part of my new water drilling company, I would also start a charitable foundation as part of this company that would help especially Africa in creating more water drilling possibilities so that all people could get clean drinking water. So many people are dying because of not having clean water to drink. And I probably would make my mission that clean water is everybody's right. So I would be working for the good instead of working for polluting more of the environment with oil. And I would also maybe as part of my mission really start fighting against plastic industry, because plastic is made of oil, most of it. And it causes so many environmental problems, especially this one-use plastic that is getting into the oceans and seas and then into all kinds of living organisms living in oceans and then finally in us when we eat fish. Back to Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you very much for that thoughtful answer. And unfortunately, we have run out of time. So the rest of you guys are off the hook for tonight. And I returned this meeting back to the Toastmaster. Thank you.
Thank you, all the Table Topics respondents, for fascinating answers to fascinating questions. And now I'd like to ask our timer, Rolando, to give us a report on the times for our Table Topics participants. Did everyone qualify? Rolando.
Yes, Madam Toastmaster. Everyone qualified.
With that information that everyone is qualified, please open up your chat and cast your vote for either Roger, Sybil, Chris, Lewis, or Joy for Best Table Topic Respondent. And then we'll proceed on with our general evaluation portion of the evening. And this is handled by General Evaluator DTM Therese Quaranta. Welcome, Teresa, also from Maryland. Woo woo.
Whoa! This is a drill. Are you ready? Okay. I punctured the space to make it happy. Okay, guys. Now, we are into the evaluation portion. We have 3 speakers, and so we have 3 expert evaluators. Let's start with our first evaluator for our first speaker, Mr. John Quick, and his evaluator will be Mr. Jim Dent. Take it away.
Okay, thank you. And John Quick's speech was very interesting. It was what I enjoyed about the speech was the interesting opening using the game characters. To me, that caught my attention, just as if somebody would have done a big verbal intro. Just those images itself caught my attention and wanted me to see the rest of the speech and the presentation. I hope that did for everybody else, but to me, that was an interesting technique. He also introduced interesting characters that made me want to see what these characters were. The first image was all 4 characters. And what caught my eye was the slime. And I was wondering, how's this slime going to play into this presentation? And you did a good job of that. I like how you role-played the characters. The transitions from one character to another I thought was good. And also the transitions between the video slides showing the characters and then the images of you speaking. I thought that was very smooth and well coordinated. Some of the things I would work on is I thought your voice variety for some of the characters were a little weaker than I would have done them myself, such as the first character demanding more gold. I would have made the voice much louder and sound very upset and really make it strong, a strong voice demanding more gold. The other thing I would look at is I didn't quite clearly understand how the 20-sided die rolled into the communication styles. Although they were being displayed in each of the characters, I just didn't understand the connection very well. So you might want to work on maybe explaining that connection if you did this again, or use the 20-set die. Another thing I would look at is I wasn't sure in the closing or in the speech how this really related to your communication style and the impact on others, or how a communication style of someone else has impacted you. I caught the characters, but I wasn't able to make the connection between, were these representing your style or were they the style of somebody else impacting yourself? And that was kind of one of the objectives of the speech. So that wasn't quite clear, so you might want to work on that. That could have been worked in somehow in the conclusion. And that's where I felt it was a little weak. I want to end last with, there was a very interesting visuals. And I think that's what caught my attention and kept me from becoming puncturing. Back to our general evaluator, Therese.
Did I puncture the space? It's a drill. Okay, our next evaluator for our grand Stand in Your Future speaker, Mr. Mike Woodall, will be evaluated by our very own David Carr. Go for it, David!
Thank you, General Evaluator. The evaluation is usually where I puncture my own vision of myself, knowing what I'm talking about, but I'll try and present without puncturing Mike's ego either. Mike, I really liked your lead-in. You had a strong initial story about you had a message you wanted to get out. You got an opportunity to tell it on a bigger stage, and your remark was, well, I'll just wing it, which of course makes every Toastmaster in the universe wince. And it's lucky that you connected with that friend. So you hooked us in right from the beginning. You had our sympathy. You did have some technical issues along the way. My screen was flashing messages saying that you had low bandwidth. At one point, the software tried to adapt and shrank down your picture to a smaller square on the screen. You might be able to see that in the replay, actually, because it's captured from my point of view. So, work on it. I mean, the technology will always betray you at the worst possible time. You just try and be as well prepared for it as you can. I think Jim Gold was flashing up me in a low bandwidth window. I don't know. But there were also a number of things that I really liked about your presentation in an online format. You had set yourself up in the room in such a way that you were able to stand and speak. And I don't know exactly what your microphone setup was, but we heard you clearly. We saw you standing and speaking. You had these good props, being able to show the posters you had prepared for different events, the shepherd's staff, the cabinet door. Those were all great things that were punctuating your speech at the appropriate moments. And so that was good. I'll tell you that I actually have kind of a pet peeve about people who give speeches in Toastmasters about Toastmasters. So we're talking to Toastmasters about how wonderful Toastmasters is. But I wouldn't apply that criticism really to this speech, because even though at some point I said, uh-oh, you took it above and beyond by talking about this, and excellent writing in here too, about standing in a vision of the world that they were seeing. That's what you tell people to do, to smell the scent of the future self, feel the texture, hear the sounds, and come back to the present and speak that future possibility into existence. What a wonderful articulation of the value of public speaking, not just as an exercise or even as an art form, but speaking about what matters. That, I think, was the message that I got from you. It's a powerful message. You delivered it very, very well. And the technical glitches will happen. You're going to learn how to work past them, hopefully, through this club experience. Welcome to Online Presenters. General Evaluator.
You were almost done with me. Did I wake you up? Hello? It's a drill. We have one more evaluator for our very own Mr. Norman Dow. We will have our stand-in, Mr. Andy Byrne. Woo! Go for it, Andy.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator Teresa, and most appreciate the speech delivered by Professor Norman Dow. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Let me first say that this was an excellent technique to focus our attention on the picture. As Norman was explaining how you view the story, we were able to really concentrate on that picture. Are you able to hear me? Yes, okay. Able to focus on that picture. At the same time, if you look at Norman's tile, it's a very clean tile, well lit. His face is able to be seen clearly. His articulations had clarity. He had vocal range, although it was a little bit on the tight side, but he did have, it wasn't monotone. And you were able to appreciate through clear diction what he was saying. What you did especially well is you had a message and points to the story, particularly at the ending. When you call for action and tell people to broaden your education, to pierce your veil of ignorance and really look beyond what you might see at the surface. You went into looking at merging historical figures with biblical stories and pointed out that people did not question the professor missing some of the important points of the story by not bringing together the biblical stories with other historical facts. You had great eye contact with that position that you're in, that comfortable looking leather chair. Because of this format, you don't really have a lot of gestures. You weren't delivering it from a standing position. So I think that's really a non sequitur area. But the audience was engaged. The audience was listening to everything that you were saying and absorbing the points that you were making from that picture. It brought me back to when I was in Sunday school and remembering the story of Abraham and Sarah. Although in that picture, Sarah looks about 30 years older than Abraham, although in the story, he is much older than she is. Any event, I think that was sort of an interesting focus. But the point that I really took back, the point that I really enjoyed, was the fact that you were calling for all of us to dig deep, do learning, explore, and bring things together, and that a picture can deliver 1,000 words. I appreciate your speaking, Norman. I appreciate the wide variety of topics that I may not be up to date on, and I appreciate all that you share. The only thing that I would probably do is watch the clock. You finished at 7 minutes, 30 seconds, one deep breath, and you would have been over. Thank you, General Evaluator.
Very nice. We're ready for the ending. Are you awake? You guys, wake up. Wake up. Okay. Okay, so we're now going to have our reports. I'm glad to see everybody waking up. It's time to puncture the quiet with first our Mr. Rolando timer to tell us how do we do with the evaluations. Mr. Rolando, how did the time go?
Yes, Madam General Evaluator. No one has punctured the time. Everybody qualified.
Well, that is wonderful news. And how about if everyone could help out and send your vote for the best evaluator to Dagmara. Then we will have our reports from first our all counter, our Dr. Jacinta, who is taking quite a beating today with all that drilling talk. It's good that we have a dentist here because it gives us real visual ideas of what's going on. Jacinta, could you please give us your report?
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Yes, I know some individuals may not like going to the dentist, but it's the way for you to save all your beautiful teeth. And everyone on here has a beautiful smile, so we've helped you at some measure in your life. Okay, to our report. Our prepared speeches, John, excellent job. No filler words. Mike, there were 2 ahs, 1 so. Norman, there was 2 ahs and a well when you were talking about Abraham's age and that. Just wanted to point that out. Tiger, table topics. Excellent job. No fillers. Roger, no fillers. Sybil, there were 2 ahs, 2 ums. Christopher, there was 1 but and 1 so. Lou, 1 ah. Joy, 2 buts, an ah and a eh. That could be just what you were trying to communicate at the time. For our evaluations, Dries, no filler words. Jim, there was 1 1 ah, and a and when you were communicating. David, there was 1 ah, 1 you, and 2 you knows. Andrew, excellent job. Everyone did amazing. No one punctured or was puncturing our filler words today. Excellent job, everyone. Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Oh, I'm so glad that you didn't bring your drill today because you would have probably hit me. You were so kind to us all, Jacinta. Thank you. Our next report will be from our watcher from Florida, Mr. Jim Barber. And if you don't like your vote on how he watched you, you know, you can always ask for that double count because he's from Florida.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Let's see. Let's talk about lighting for a moment. Everybody was well lit. I have one suggestion, Rolando. You have great video presence, but you're a little washed out tonight. I don't know if that's a problem with your lighting or your camera, but a little more contrast would make your presence even better. In terms of backgrounds, we have a wide variety of backgrounds, from a Sills plain white background to John's Forest Primeval to other office backgrounds and that sort of thing. They all work. They're all good. I like them. A special note to David Carr's background. With the light streaming from behind his head, I couldn't figure out what that was making me think of until I realized it's Terry Gilliam's Monty Python's presentations. Anytime you're presenting God, that looks like David Carr tonight. Great thing. And the other thing is, be careful. It's a good thing to watch your speakers, our speakers in speaker view. But when you're doing that, you drop out of the speaker mode where you see everybody in gallery view. You don't see yourself. And I saw a lot of people when they were watching in speaker view. I was dropped back to gallery view, and people were doing this and doing that and that sort of thing because they couldn't see themselves. So be careful. Realize the watcher is watching you at all times. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Mr. Jim Barber. Yes, let's see. Who do we have next? Woo! Okay, we are down to our chat monitor, Mr. Jim Gold, who I think has been entertaining us all by puncturing the space with some background pictures of twins.
Madam General Evaluator, I have been just going crazy with the chat over here. It's been wonderful. And yes, this is my practice. This is where we all should practice our tools that we all have here or that we have available to us. I use a lot of this stuff in our regular show. So I wanted to talk about the proper use of chat. And a really good use of chat is to put those times and things in there and write personal notes to the speakers or the general evaluators or anybody out there. And you can keep the chat pretty clean. Let's see, times. I like that David gave the link to the web version of the evals early on, and Roger was right on top of it. So y'all are paying attention. It's really great that you can do that. So that's my chat thing, and I think everybody is using it well. There's a lot of good information in there, and you can save the chat. Remember, you can save the chat. At the very bottom, there's a more drop down, and you can save the chat there. So check it out.
Thank you, Mr. Jim Gold, for your entertaining twin syndromes for the evening. And we have one last report, and that will be from Dagmara, who can announce the winners of our speaking, our table topics, and our evaluation contest. Take it away, Dagmara.
Thank you, Therese. So, who are the winners today? Best speaker, Mike. Best table topics, Roger. And the best evaluator, Andrew. Please give them the round of applause.
Thank you, expert vote counter Dagmara from Montreal, where it's probably getting to be nice weather, puncturing into that coldness. It is my turn to say something. Isn't that fun? I just want to congratulate Roger on doing a grand job of changing the times, because it is taken away a stressful situation that seemed to be everyone was drill sergeant, snap, snap to it and puncture the space to get on time. And now we can all relax. And Tiger used that time in a beautiful way by giving us quite an interesting table topics tonight. And Elaine, thank you for being very well prepared. I did enjoy your call to arms to everyone so that you could have a wonderful Mother's Day, and the signups were almost instantaneously. That was a very, very nice email. I only have one comment, and I would say that I really enjoy seeing the timer square taking the full screen. And I hope that Rolando, and I think that last meeting it was who was it? It was John, I think, had that. If you could share with everyone at some point how you do that, I think it makes it much easier for the speaker to see the time. And that's the only comments I have. Thank you very much for...
Trace, did you call on the grammarian?
Did I call on the grammarian? I did not call on the grammarian. You got me. Okay, the grammarian is Christian, and I would appreciate your telling us all the goods and bads and all the other things that you want to drill in tonight.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. I was hoping to be hidden, but you punctured my veil. So very, very good use of grammar. I just decided to just put all I captured in the chat to save up on time. In terms of feedback, I heard a couple of words that I thought were not accurate, but hey, they were well used. So two of them are, I heard funnest. I was expecting funniest or most fun, but funnest is acceptable in the US. In the UK, the English is different, so it's most fun. So be aware of the cross-cultural communication. The other word was I had gotten braces. So I was I was expecting I had got braces, but hey, guess what? Gotten is also acceptable. So congratulations again in the US, but when you go across cultures, I had got, or I got braces. There was also the word I will be slimed. I gave that a tick because that was well used in the context. Special mention to John Quick for his excellent use of the English prose in his delivery. In terms of the word of the day, I had to stop counting at some point. Well, I wanted to stop counting. Besides Mr. Bobber, who hit the mother load early on with 10 attempts, we had 18 use of the word of the day. Congratulations to the following Toastmasters: Norman Dow, Christopher, David Carr, and Madam General Evaluator, who used 5 times or more the word of the day. Over to you, Madam.
Thank you, Christian, and thank you, Jim, for reminding us of Mr. Grammarian. This has been very enjoyable, and I love to have meetings where people are smiling because it's very contagious. Thank you, and I'll turn everything back over to Madam Toastmaster.
At this time, I'd actually like to call on our fine president, Jim Dent, to close out the meeting, perhaps call on some guests for some responses and comments about the evening, and make any other notices that we need to be aware of. Jim, over to you.
Okay, thank you. Well, first I'd like to hear from Sybil. What'd you think of our meeting tonight, Sybil?
It was really fun. And I gotta say, the level of your speaking in your club is so much higher than what I'm used to. I hope that I can be that good someday.
We definitely welcome you back again next week, and join in. It's this Saturday when we have our speechathon too. That'll be an exciting meeting.
Okay.
And Mike, you're still a guest, aren't you? Soon to be a member?
Mike is a full member, and Christopher is a full member.
Were you talking to me?
Yes, Mike Woodall, yeah.
Oh, I'm an old-time member by now. It's been at least a week.
Okay, I wasn't sure. Great. Okay, well, I want to remind everybody to, there's a few open roles yet for the speechathon this Saturday. I think there's 2 evaluators. I think we still need a timer. And then there are several roles needed for the following Monday night. I won't be here on the 27th. My wife's coming up to Portland, and we're going to do some things. It's our wedding anniversary that weekend. And so I'm not going to be available because I'll be busy with my wife doing some other things. We're going to do some touring, probably go down and visit my brother-in-law in Corvallis and various other things. But I'll be here this Saturday and next Monday night. Anybody have any announcements?
Stick around for a few minutes if you would like to hear some comments about being a club coach.
Okay, I've got to leave. I got to head back down to the shop, make sure some parts get to the heat treat oven tonight. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Jim.
Our meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you very much.